as a person that was undertaking that, how do I grow my business as much as possible? I had to change who I was first.
Today we have Shane Hiscock, the founder and CEO of Locate Buyers Agency. Welcome, Shane.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you very much.
It's great to have you. We're interested. Tell us a bit about your business. What does a buyer's agency do?
So buyer's agency helps people to purchase property. So obviously, everyone's familiar with sales agents who are involved in the selling of homes and properties on behalf of the homeowners. Buyer's agents, we work for the buyer. So we 100% represent the buyer in the purchase process of property. That's what
Wow,
we do.
fantastic. That's
Yeah.
really good. And so, how did you get started in that?
So many years ago, I used to work in IT for a company called IBM, which a lot of people may know of. Obviously, it was it was the largest IT company in the world at the time. However, it wasn't something I loved or was hugely passionate about. So I went on a journey to find what it was that I was passionate about. It was something I wanted to do to be an example to my children primarily as well, in terms of a way to live life. You know, chase your passions, follow your dreams, and that was pretty hard to do when I'm not living that myself. So I went on this search for kind of what do I love, what do I really enjoy, and I landed on property just I guess by way of my wife and I searching for our first house, and then that got me interested, and I started to really learn a lot more about property and educate myself. And then a few years after that, I completed some development project, which allowed me to finish up at IBM. And what happened not long after that was a friend who worked at IBM asked me for assistance in buying a property. And so I helped her on that journey with no real, I guess, business structure or fee structure in play, no business set up at this time. I'd left IBM to be in development and those kinds of activities. Anyway, I helped her purchase a property, which she really enjoyed and loved. And she said, "How do I pay you?" At this time, I said, "That's up to you. I'll leave that open and in your court. You choose to pay me however you will. I love what I've done for you. I really enjoyed it." And she looked it up and she said, "Look, what you've done is you've done the role of a buyer's agent from what I can see." So she paid me based on that, and from there I was like, "Wow, this is cool. I'll look into that." So then I set up the first buyer's agency that I started way back then, which was over 10 years ago now. That's
That is
how it all started.
fantastic. Well done. That is great.
Thank
And
you.
so, then where do you feel that you sort of bring the most value to the marketplace now?
Well, I guess, yeah, there's a couple of answers to that question. It's really, I guess, for the moment, location based because we're based here in Brisbane. So we provide most value really with people buying in and around the 10K ring of Brisbane CBD. And that's because we know those areas the best and we have the strongest relationships through those areas. However, in saying that, we are starting to purchase in other areas as well, like the Sunshine Coast and Gold Coast. But really, where I feel we add the most value is primarily people looking to buy, their family homes. We're around 75% of our purchases are family homes. We do still help a lot with investment property. However, I love learning what somebody's preferences are, what they're really looking for in a house, and then being on that search to find that perfect property. I think our ability to understand the market from a broader perspective and bring in information and detail that provides context around decision making, it gives people confidence. And I feel that adds a massive amount of value to those trying to buy, because most people who've been looking to buy in the marketplace are falling short for there's usually 4 or 5 different reasons that are quite common. And often those are really just not understanding where value should sit, but also not understanding how to go about the negotiation and the purchase.
Mhm.
And that's where we add a significant amount of value, because then people are buying the right property for them. They're finding more options through our networks and connections. They've got an understanding of what they should pay for it and where it sits in value wise, and then and that can save hundreds of thousands of dollars, in either a purchase, or hundreds of thousands of dollars in terms of continually missing out on buying because they're looking at the wrong properties and then being priced out of a market. So yeah, I really think that those things combined, it's a combination of aspects, but that's really where we're adding value
Mhm.
for the most part. So it's the family home buyer. It's usually the 1 to 5 million kind of price range at the moment, and it's in and around Brisbane.
Yeah, great. And
Yeah.
so, what kinds of things could you do that I guess a normal real estate agent can't, in representing the buyer?
So obviously, a normal real estate agent is employed by the seller. So whilst a person may approach them where they have a house to sell on behalf of somebody else, and I guess their assistance then is limited to selling them that house. Whereas the person buying may say, well, can you keep me abreast of other options and opportunities? Which of course the polite answer will always be yes, we can. But the reality of it is that they're getting hundreds of inquiries on each property that they have. And the real estate agent's job as a salesperson is not really to go out and find you other options as a buyer. Their role is to go and find more properties to sell, to find more sellers, so to speak. So they're really limited in their time and ability to be able to do that for you, because it's just really quite openly not their role to go and help you find options. So, whereas on our side of it, our job is to go and find you options in the marketplace. We can approach all of the other real estate agents in the market. We can find off-market properties. We can track down expired listings and chase those up. We can look at, we've got a multiple range of methods that we use to find additional options in the marketplace, and all agents are happy to work with us. Whereas if you go to a sales agent asking them for other properties that could suit you, they're only going to be able to show you the ones that they've listed. Not Their competitors are not going to tell them about off-market properties. Their competitors are not going to tell them about other properties that they may have that might suit that buyer, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really good. And so here's a bit of a mindset question for you, Shane. What had to
Sure.
change in you that took you sort of from those early days of finishing up at IBM, and then taking the leap, and then through to now having a really really solidly successful buyers agency?
Well, there's a lot. There are a lot of mindset changes through there. However, I'll speak of one that I think was one of the biggest differences in the last sort of year and a half to 2 years, and that was, and it is very much mindset. It was deciding to ignore all outside circumstances. If that can make, I'll extrapolate on that a little bit. So often in business, you'll set a goal. We'll set a goal for the year. You'll be chasing after a particular goal, and what was happening sometimes for me a couple of years ago is you'd set this goal, and then you'd secure a property and get it under contract, and then for some reason it would fall over. The deal wouldn't happen, and that would be devastating at the time. Dire straits, things starting going wrong here and there, right? And that would allow emotions to come into the scenario. So you start to become a bit of an emotional roller coaster. And then what it also allows is fears and doubts to come in. You start to go, oh, maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe this isn't right. Or should I be focused on a different market? And ideally, I was allowing external events to sort of rock the boat, so to speak, until I decided to flip it and not allow anything externally that happened to me have any effect on where I was headed, and remain focused on what the goal was, but at the same time build a really strong vision around what that end goal feels like, looks like, smells like, tastes like, and then start to act from that position and operate from having already achieved it. Once I put that in play, then anything that fell over, deal didn't come through, client didn't sign up, that's fine. There's a better option. That's fine. There's a better deal, because the person that's already achieved the goal doesn't get affected by the emotional up and downs of those things happening. The person that's already achieved the goal just keeps rolling. The person that's already got to where I wanted to be, rolls with the punches, makes decisions quick. So I defined that person. I guess you could say created an avatar around who is that person, what does that person look like. And when I made that shift of not operating from I'm here wanting to get somewhere else, but operated from how about I'm acting as if I'm already there. What would I do? How would I act? What decisions would I make? That and then building that image and that vision around it. So for me, that was a game changer, and that allowed me to speed up my results. It allowed us to triple and quadruple our business in a pretty short space of time. Acting in that manner and focusing on that end goal.
I love that. That is
Mm,
so good.
mm.
And so, Shane, could you give us one or two insights that really gave you, I guess, the biggest leverage around, how you got those levels of dramatic growth in your business?
Yeah, well, I think there were a few things here. So one was considering different types of goals. So there were goals where it was like I think a common thing to do with goals is just set one that's a little bit further than last year, right? And and then if you wanted to sort of be out there a little bit, just set it a little bit past that, But the problem I found with those sort of goals is they lacked inspiration. They really, when those hurdles hit and you focused on that goal, it's like, oh, do I really want that? Like it was just an incremental increase. It wasn't going to change my life in any dramatic way. It was like learning to set goals not from a position of what do I think can achieve, but what would be amazing, like what would be awesome to achieve, and then so having excitement around that then, because it's only when I have excitement around it and passion about it that I'm going to stick to it. So that was the first thing, was setting the right type of goal, and that for me also wasn't like super pie in the sky, so far away, stretched out there, like I want to have a private jet by the end of next year type of goal, because in some level you've got to set this goal like, I'd love to achieve it, it'll be amazing, it's a fair way off and I'm not sure how exactly I'm going to do it, because I learn as well, don't worry about the how, that part of it really. We waste way too much time planning out how to do something, whereas if I focused on that goal and being excited about the right goal, like I know it's cliche, but the how will turn up, and it really will. So it was type of goal. The next thing was a decision. So um, actually deciding that no matter what, I'm sticking to that and I'm going for it. Like no matter what. So what I'd find, like previous to sort of implementing these things here, there's one more part to it, is that I might set a goal but then change my mind, and so I and that I realize is kind of like lining up to buy a sandwich at the cafe, and then changing your mind and feeling like you want something else, so you have to go line up somewhere else. So it just takes longer to get it, really. So I was making the decision, and then once, because what the decision also allowed me to do was to not oscillate and not go, well, should I be doing this or should I be doing that? Or it's just, no, I've made that decision, and then make it for 12 months, like, okay, well, just, this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm focused for 12 months. Okay, put everything else aside. And then the third part of that is then the vision, like building the vision around it all, which is what I spoke about previously, which was, what does it look like when I've achieved it? How do I act? How do I talk? What do I do each week? How do I dress? What do I drive? Where do I eat dinner? Where do I take the kids? Like, all of those things. And one exercise I did around that is I built a list of 50 things that I would be, do, or have if, or when I've achieved that goal. So here's the goal. Make it the goal I'm excited about. Make the decision that no matter what, I'm going for it. I built this list of 50 things of, be, do, or have, and then you might say, when I hit that goal, I would, I'd buy something really expensive, right? So you're not going to run out tomorrow and just do that, but you have things on the list that are not just about material things; they're about being. Like you might finish early on a Friday or something if you're earning X or your company's turning over X, or you might, I had things like, get a massage once a month, something like that. So it doesn't have to be crazy, but when you're then doing that activity, you're now feeling like you're in that zone of like, I'm the person that's achieved that goal. And the more you feel that way, the more your thoughts resonate with that, then your actions will align with it, and then you'll start bringing in the results. So that was like the key, I guess, insights that have helped me.
Yeah, that is so good. And so then, Shane, what advice would you give to a business owner or CEO who really wants to break through to that next level?
it's to do those things, I guess,
Yeah.
which is I know it's but I look I think I spent too much time in the strategic planning part. I mean, that's obviously needed as businesses grow to certain levels. You still need to get involved and have that done. But I still think the best time spent is building the vision and the avatar of where you want to be. Like
Mm,
I just don't think enough can be said about that. You know, there's a saying that I've run from, which was, "You'll never achieve over and above your beliefs." So and how do you, if you read books, there's heaps of books and personal development things on all of this, right? And it sort of all comes back to thoughts become things, right? That's fine. Um, but what causes the thoughts? A lot of the time that's your beliefs. What causes your belief? And really, I think it all centers back to self-image. So how I perceive myself. So as a person that was undertaking that, how do I grow my business as much as possible? I had to change who I was first and
yeah,
how I
that's
see
great.
myself first. So that's the because I've been through a previous business, grown it to a certain level, crashed. So not crashed, but failed, didn't work, went through some very very difficult times, and I don't think personally I'd worked on myself enough to
Mm,
be the person that can have that level of success. And then quite eerily, you kind of see it sort of stopped out at a certain point. We have like an internal thermostat kind of mechanism going on, which is just built up from childhood, and most of our results in life are coming from our subconscious mind, right? So
yeah.
96% of our results or something like that are coming from the subconscious. So we've got to get in and uncover what that subconscious is and rebuild it. So that was one of the biggest things that I'd embarked on, was rebuilding my own image of myself. Like, who am I
Yeah.
now that I am at
Yeah.
this level? And so that for me was the way to achieve sustainable breakthrough results. So, and when I started doing this, we tripled the business, and then we're about to two and a half it again, in the next year. So that sort of, and then I'm just rebuilding the next version of myself. Who is the person that runs a company of this size? How does that person live and breathe and act, and what decisions do they make? How do they make, all of those sort of things. So I think they've been the key advice and key things would be to work on if I was giving any advice.
Yeah, I love that. That's so good. Finally, Shane, who can you best help, and if they want to reach out, how can they get in touch with you?
So we can best help anybody looking to purchase property in Brisbane. We've also started working on the Gold Coast now as well, and Sunshine Coast. So typically, home buyers or people looking to invest, generally in that sort of, as I was mentioning, sort of 1 to 5 million price range. Those are the clients that we can most help, and I guess particularly where um, they've been struggling to buy, or not able to get a handle on prices and where they sit. Maybe they've missed out on a few properties, um, but they're really committed to buying and ready to move. Then that's the sort of people that we can help out the most. We're
Yeah.
buying an average around 36 days at the moment from signing on with us to purchasing a property, which is a key metric in our business that we worked on in the last couple of years to bring in, because time in the market right now is money. And if you go a quarter here in Brisbane last year, each quarter was 6 to 8% growth that the properties were achieving, which meant if it took a quarter or 2 quarters to buy, then you were buying a house of far less standard than what you wanted, or you were buying a house further away from where you wanted to be if you took 6 months to buy it. So we can best help those people that are committed to purchasing and looking for some help in those areas.
Yeah, fantastic. And what's the best website to reach you, Shane?
So yeah, our website is www.locatebuyersagency.com.au. So
Wonderful.
that's the best way to reach us. A lot of resources on there as well if people are not quite ready to buy but want to find out a little bit more about what we do, and just get property information in general. There are a lot of success stories on there from other clients where we've interviewed them. So yeah, it's a really good resource.
Yeah, fantastic. Shane, thank you so much for coming on the show. We really appreciate the value that you shared.
My absolute pleasure, and thanks for inviting me on.
Thanks, Shane.
Cheers.